a passionate instigator and dynamic problem solver. Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, the host of the Dr. Kevin Radio Show, will be taking you outside the box, behind the curtain, and identifying the load of BS we are fed every day. And now, Dr. Kevin.
Hello, and welcome to the Dr. Kevin Show here on OMTimes, where we're changing the world. Wait for it. One Om at a time. Here on the Dr. Kevin Show on the last week of January, we do have a guest. I know that a lot of our shows now have a theme to them. Astrology, Thoughtful Thursday, all of those different things. But we still bring in the occasional special guest on the Dr. Kevin Show. And listeners, today is the day where you get to hear from somebody that you may have never heard of, or maybe you've heard of and you're excited about hearing from her again. And we'll get to her in just a minute. Remember, this is a live call-in show. If you're listening to this at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on a Thursday night, then you're listening to it live. And you can call in at 202-570-7057. Again, that's 202-570-7057. If perchance you're listening to one of the replays, but you do have questions for our guest or for me about the subject, you can go to facebook.com/MyDrKevin. You will find the post about this show, and you can post your question there. And if I can answer it, I will. And if not, I will track down the guest, pick her up by her ankles, shake the answer out of her, and make sure it gets posted. Because we're full service here in the Dr. Kevin Show, and we want to make sure you get your answers. But the best way is 202-570-7057. So on these rare once-a-month occasions where I have a guest come in, we still do a hot topic. For those of you who may be new or have not listened for a while, these are topics that either get me hot and bothered, hot under the collar, or they warm the cockles of my heart. And today's topic, I have to say, unfortunately, is one that gets me hot under the collar. It gets me hot under the collar when we have something happen where we have such a close call with our own democracy, where you have people showing up and committing acts of violence in our House of Representatives and Senate, in our Congress building. And now suddenly it has become not about how do we heal, that we are so separated on so many issues, but still at the same time hold accountable that encouraging and inciting violence against our elected officials because you don't like the results is not okay and needs to be addressed. That the only way we make sure it doesn't happen in the future is to make sure it has the kind of consequences it deserves in the present. And it has become yet another political football where people, some of that were being told, or it was being said, if they got caught, they would get killed, are suddenly now, oh, it wasn't that bad. This is what has me hot under the collar, that we have allowed a Washington to grow, and we continue to support it, where there is so little decency left and so little interest in really doing the right thing in any way, shape, or form for the American people, but all about keeping the power. How can I play the games and keep the power? It's like we have a bunch of temper tantrum 5-year-olds running in our Congress, in our elected positions. And some exist on both sides. I'm not going to make this all about the GOP. But what I am going to say is, America, we need to smarten up. This is not okay. The average American's life, in many cases, is suffering between the pandemic, the up and down of the economy, and then all of the lies that were being supported and promoted to create that led to this attempted overthrow, excuse me. And when are we going to smarten up and say, if you can't act like you could be considered mature enough for middle school, you probably shouldn't have a seat in the Senate or our House of Representatives. So, that being said, that's my hot under the collar for tonight. We will let tonight's guest weigh in on that, though I know always bringing up something political is charged, because for all I know, she may say the election was stolen and they did the right thing. At which point I would be forced to hang up on her and you would have a different guest tonight. Just saying. Tonight's guest is Donna Trask-Laitinen. I'm hoping I pronounced that correct. For those of you who I know appreciate the fact that I always apologize ahead of time, because if at some point, if I got your name right, if I got her name right at the beginning of the show, I'm sure I will manage to screw it up sometime before the show is over, so just watch for it. Donna, she is, I think I can get Donna. She is a behavioral change specialist. We really need to send her to Washington. Coach, a LiveStrong Certified Trainer, YMCA, working with people who have cancer or cancer survivors, a personal fitness trainer, meditation, stress and reduction, and relaxation certified coach. She is a yoga gaga teacher, and she has studied Reiki and has a degree in exercise science. She's also the creator of Evoke, that's all capitals, guys, EVOKE, Evoke Change Coaching. I'm not going to talk about it too much because that's her job, but you can find out more about her at evokechange.life. That's https://evokechange.life/ And again, if you go to facebook.com/mydrkevin, you're going to see all of her links. You're going to see her pictures, her write-up, and you can leave comments there if you don't call in. Donna, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here and to be on your show, Dr. Kevin, and to all who are listening. And I agree with everything that you said on the hot topic. Absolutely. And what I would just like to make a comment to leave an impression is for everybody to just try and remember that we're one. We're all one. And the meaning of oneness to me is that deep down we all really want to have peace and joy and happiness. And it's just, we're so far off from that right now. And if we can bring people back to that, that would be really wonderful. And just taking a practice of, if everybody just every day had an intention to everyone that they come across to leave with a sense of increase, it would be a much better world.
Hopefully you are not including my waistline in that comment. I try not to have it have a sense of increase at every interchange, especially if it involves food.
When I say a sense of increase, I mean something uplifting, something positive, so that whoever you come in contact with, you've left with them feeling better than if they hadn't met you that day. And it's actually pretty simple to do. If everybody practiced that, would be in a much happier place.
Well, and it's interesting because in a minute I'll start putting you through the Dr. Kevin paces with the questions, which I know you know and have answers for because I sent them to you. But that whole idea of increase, we've created it to have too many literal definitions and have overweighed, I believe, the literal of, hey, if you're not increasing my wallet, it doesn't count. If you're not increasing my ego, it doesn't count. If you don't increase my power structure, it doesn't count. If you don't somehow increase some part of the person, which oftentimes is the part that is focused on because it is hiding the wounds. It's hiding the sense of lack of value, therefore having to get value from external things, which in the scheme of things may not really have all that much value or meaning, except for what we've decided to assign them. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. I feel that people really need to take those extra steps and let go of the ego, make room, let that dissolve. And the more kindness and the more steps we take towards healing as a country, that we can, heal together by letting go of that ego and understanding what that means. And I think a lot of people are just on autopilot, and they're just, they're taking in whatever they want to take in. I mean, they're taking in whatever they're listening to, and it's creating these feelings and behaviors that, if they just change their thought process, it could be the opposite.
Now, Donna, one of the things is, you talk about if they would just engage in acts of kindness, but even that, to some degree, it feels like has gotten sullied, because there are people that say, well, when I make a decision for you, which I have decided is better for you than you should make for yourself, that it's an act of kindness. If I go, well, I'm going to talk to you about my God because my God, forget the other 54,000 gods that have been advertising for the position of God in your life, don't have what my God has, and I'm going to, as an act of kindness, I'm going to ram that God down your throat so I know that you'll get to my version of heaven. But those are all portrayed as acts of kindness. How do we not get caught in those traps of what is kind and what is self-serving? Or what is just batshit crazy?
Right.
Welcome to the Dr. Kevin Show. Go ahead.
Okay. Are we going to the question now, or do you want me to follow up with that?
Well, I want you to go ahead. No, I want you to go with that question.
Yes.
Where's our check-in mechanism? How do we determine what is a true act of kindness and not an act of us self-serving some agenda which we've been completely brainwashed with?
Well, I feel it's people connecting with their inner being and with the instincts that they have and the impulses that they receive. We know what's right and what's wrong, and if you do a little reflection on it and really pay attention to how your body feels, and not not looking for outside answers, looking to inside for the answers, and starting to ask questions.
A long time ago, I remember the first time I heard from somebody that another spiritual teacher and I were talking, and I always loved her definition of, that there's a difference between a belief system and a knowing, and a belief system is something you can talk people out of, and a knowing is just, it's non-negotiable, but it's also kind of, she just said non-negotiable, but it's also kind of non-charged. It's non-charged. And I think that sometimes if people are looking to see, are they being sucked into the Kool-Aid, whatever that might be, that if you have to defend yourself, there's a charge. If you have to be right, there is a charge. If your way is the only way, there is a charge. If you can't even stand to hear any other opinion, there is a charge. And if there is a charge, then it is a belief system and not a knowing. Because a knowing simply is and has no charge. And when you get to those things that are simply a knowing, which needs no defense, needs no need at all for anyone to agree with it, let alone be out there advocating for converts, that has to absolutely feel better about whatever they're saying by getting more people to say it with them and tell them they're right. Those are all belief systems and not knowing. And I think that is an interesting way for people to start to check in to see where really are they? Because I think that the majority of people out there don't really know. I don't think they could pass the test. What are your thoughts?
Yes, I agree. A lot of people have these beliefs that aren't even really theirs. It's part of the environment that they grew up in and other people's beliefs that they just accept. And it's really taking the time to do the work to take those layers off and figure out who you really are. And I think this is a time where there's a shift going on that people are wanting to change and they're looking for something more. And that's my hope anyway. And to, take a look at their habits and the way they think and, reflect on that and, trying to have forward vision thinking and, like I said, reflecting on what their belief system is and how that's working out for them.
So, there is our music for our first break. We'll be right back with Donna Trask-Laitinen. She is the founder of Evoke Life Coaching. And we'll be back here in a moment on the Dr. Kevin Show.
Conscious media for conscious minds. OMTimes. Have you ever wondered how to change your love paradigm? The secret key is finding a love partnership, not just a regular connection. How do you find these? Through conscious relationships. Ascending Hearts Dating is a dating site for people like you that believes in second chances and a different type of spiritual connection. Try Ascending Hearts for free today at ascendinghearts.com and change your love paradigm. Ascending Hearts, the premier dating community for the spiritually awake.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
These are the sounds of a dinner that almost didn't happen. A dinner now served, thanks to people like you. Due to COVID-19, 17 million more Americans may face hunger. Feeding America is helping our neighbors in need. And if you're able, you can too. Donations are being accepted at feedingamerica.org/coronavirus. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
Hello, and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show. Today we have Donna Trask-Laitinen. She is the founder of Evoke Coaching, and she has all sorts of certifications and blah, 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 blah. And you can come to facebook.com/my Dr. Kevin and get the full list of, she's been certified in everything from hog tying to bunny racing. No. And she is here sharing some of her insights. I also know that she is working on a new book, and perhaps we'll hear a little bit about that later in the show. So, Donna, we're going to jump into, where would you like to take my listeners outside the box? Let's go for it.
All right. So I'm asking you to think outside the box and really stretch your comfort zone. I always say, and this is also through my experience on a personal level, where I'm finding that a lot of people can connect to some of the things I'm addressing, and embrace the struggle. Embrace the struggle and learn how to love the challenge. Because when you think of it that way, a conflict, a struggle, a challenge, that is actually when we grow and expand the most. So I feel like that's really helped me. I'm briefly going to share the good, the bad, and the ugly of my own discovery, self-awareness, and understanding what consciousness my inner being and spirit develop in. And I want to share how I'm getting to a place, I've gotten to a place of reconnection, balance, and harmony, where I truly feel that every day life is getting easier and easier as I'm getting rid of a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to quickly just bring you right through this. I'm bringing you back to when I was 21, and I was at a friend's college house. The party's over. I'm in a bedroom. One of my best friends is sleeping in the other twin bed. I lay my head down to sleep. I experience a very vivid and really unbelievable dream nightmare as me as a little girl. And I abruptly awoke in the dark in an unfamiliar room, and my hands were touching a bedspread. The bedspread was lightweight. I could feel the embroidery, and I felt the raised knuckles outlining the design on the bedspread, and that was a trigger. In that moment, I had my first flashback, and I was under an embroidered bedspread, and I wasn't alone. And just like that, I remembered a moment from my childhood, and I replayed it in my head. Was it real? I woke my friend up. And I said, I think I was molested by my uncle when I was a little girl. And she looked at me, hung over a bedhead, and said, really? Wow, that's strange. Are you okay? And I just replied, I guess. So in that moment, I had been disconnected from my inner child. And, for years, the flashbacks flooded in, and, I would wake up, I would sleep with my hands crossed over my chest and my legs and ankles crossed so tightly that upon awakening and getting out of bed, it was difficult to even walk until those muscles could relax. And my mind played tricks on me. I would think someone would come to the door, and I would hide behind a desk with one of my kids, and it was my neighbor's child. And because I thought my uncle was coming after me, So I decided to take charge and confront. And I was bold and I was determined, and I wrote a letter, and it was actually the easiest letter I ever wrote. It just all flowed. It was. And I received a letter from an attorney telling me not to contact my uncle. So I just decided I'm not going to be a victim and that I was fine. Well, little did I know I was suppressing deeper and deeper, and later I discovered that cells have memory.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, yes. And that's what a lot of people, Dr. Kevin, I feel that, they have all these pains and injuries and chronic illnesses, and now all the dots are connecting for me. And I think a lot of people are in the same boat with all these ailments that they have. And we create these major roadblocks in our bodies, in our muscles, in our cells. And so now I'm bringing you right up to summer of 2018, and that was my wake-up call. And I could not escape. I broke my foot, crushed my back within months of each other, and I was left lying, flat. I couldn't walk. And I realized now that I was running away from myself, and I couldn't run anymore. It was coming together that all this anger and blame and negativity filled in me. It wasn't just from the broken foot and the back injury. It was all these years of built up anger and blame and negativity. And I was really forced to address it. And the universe works in mysterious ways to get me to lie flat and work on this. And it was obvious, to me what I needed to do. And I recognized, at that point, I didn't even recognize myself, and I didn't even know who I was. So my self-healing and self-discovery began. And I always say, amen to that. And then, and I'm sure people can relate to that too, and then right up to November 2019, my son comes and tells me that he wants to end his life and that he's wishing for disease to take him. And this brought me to my knees. I really knew I needed help now. And I was not only in a crisis for myself, but now as a mother, I knew I needed to step up and be this bright light, be this chandelier and turn it up as high as possible and then a little bit more. And I turned to the universe. I turned to God, cosmic intelligence, spirit, Mother Divine, whatever you want to call it, but it was a higher power. And my meditation and prayer and that I practiced daily was being heard. It was just unbelievable. And I didn't know how this all worked. And it's just so enlightening. And the events that occurred forging forward were literally natural miracles. The things that were happening without explanation, just at the perfect timing, I was just so grateful. And I was surrendering. My faith was deepening, and it was just, it was really people were being placed in my path to help me. I started yoga class. I couldn't even walk at that point. Really, I could only do 4 exercises. Then I went to yoga teacher training, yoga retreat. Then I went to a Reiki healer. That was a game changer. These are all therapies that I didn't even know that were available, and just a game changer, truly a game changer. And I brought my son to see the healer in Sedona, and it was a game changer. So I'd like to say that, we can choose faith or fear. They both do the same, believing in the same, believing in something that you can't see. Just having that faith. And what I've learned is that I always try to see the good in any situation, even if I can't see it right at this moment, that I trust that it will show up, that something good can come out of it. And that immediately gives me relief that I'm not in this alone, and I'm able to manage better. I'm able to respond rather than react. And I'm not in a corner rolled up in a ball, that I can actually be impactful and be helpful. I do have, if I have time, two little things that give excellent examples. Do I have enough time in this segment, Dr. Kevin?
I'm going to say that probably you should have, if they're short, that's great. I mean, certainly there's a lot of story you've rolled out here.
I know.
And I know I know, and no one told you to take a breath and let me ask questions. So I'm sure some of my listeners, wake up.
Well, I just want to say, I now say thank you to all of this. But go ahead, ask a question.
Well, first of all, what was the process? I've been in practice as a spiritual coach, counselor, and catalyst since 1990. So we're talking over 30 years of doing this. And the reason I bring that up is I'm hearing large gaps in places that I don't know if the person who's out there that maybe is just having a memory knows what is actually the next step. You brought something up, and and I know that this happens, especially when we're very young in our process. And I say that, and there's no disrespect when I say that, but you really committed into this process in 2018, and I think it's fabulous that you're charging forward. It's making a huge difference to your life, and that you're a living testament that God doesn't work in mysterious ways. We just got caught in our head and don't want to pay attention because they're not mysterious really at all. And that it's our self-awareness and our communication with ourselves and our ability to listen and have two-way communication with God that makes the difference. But you started about having a memory about being molested. And I will have some listener tonight that's listening to that may be on the precipice of that has just happened to them. They've just had that memory. They're just, and right. They're listening going, so what did she really do? I mean, will it all go away if I write a letter? Is that what you have to do? Will a Reiki treatment? No, the Reiki treatment healed for the sun. No, it wasn't the sun, it was the back. What did the Reiki treatment heal? Damn it, what am I supposed to do? What's my next step? I just had these memories. Can you tell me what you're going to say to that person? A next step, not a long story they get lost in. What is the next step? I just woke up in the middle of the night, curled in a fetal position, completely shut down and scared to death because I'm remembering my childhood memories of being molested. What is their next step?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, obviously for me, I have my first memory, and it took years to even process that. And, I thought I had healed it, but I would say if I was to do it differently, I would, directly seek out some help and talk to somebody about it and start to really unravel all of this and take the time to understand that the effects, you can't just pretend that it didn't happen or think that you just, can put it aside and that you're going to be okay in the long term, that it's an emotional thing and you need to get help releasing that. And I found that therapies like Reiki and healers helping unblock energy and yoga, and those were ways, meditation, those were ways that God and the universe were able to communicate, and I was able to get these messages to do this, to do that, and start having these, I call them the releases. They're like emotional releases through myofascial release, through taking the time to heal through forgiveness. Forgiveness was a big one for me. Actually, now that I'm working through it a little bit, the forgiveness component was just enormous. Forgiving, okay, here it is, forgiving myself and letting go of all the recycled thoughts and emotions and everything. And I did this whole process where I was able to write it out, everything, and then pretty much release it up to the universe so that there was resolution. It wasn't me really forgiving my uncle, but it was, knowing that it happened and that, I'm survived it and I can move on from this point on, and knowing that it has made me evolve into the person that I am because of that situation that I went through. And now I can help other people. But I really feel the forgiveness was huge, and I really don't go back and relive it anymore. It is in the past, and it is freedom and like this vessel that's, opening up.
Let me tell you about something that we've talked about for off and on for years in the Dr. Kevin Show. I always remind my clients about the spiral of healing. We come upon something, a deep wound, and we heal it at the level we're capable of. We might heal some of it physically. We might heal some of it emotionally. We might heal some of it mentally. We might heal some of it spiritually. We may only be healing some part on one level. And then our life goes on, because that's what happens, Donna. Life goes on. It has to. We have to live. We have babies. We have kids to raise. We have a mortgage to pay. Life goes on. It may not go on. It may go on more joyfully than it went on before, but you will come back to that place, and you will find that wound will show back up, and you'll go, I did all of that. You should be gone now. No, because now you are a person that's capable of a deeper level of healing. Maybe last time you didn't look at the spiritual messages of it, or maybe last time you didn't clear the trauma out of your physical body around it. Maybe you did the emotional work on it. But that you go round and round that spiral, because each time it becomes, the first time it is an angry, it's an anger to the teaching. It's an angry teacher. Why did this happen to me? Why me? And it really follows very closely with the stages of death by Kubler-Ross, because it's the death of your innocence. It's the death of the childhood you remembered, that you had to remember to survive, being replaced by the actual childhood you had, which was unfortunately much less unicorns and rainbows, and a lot more fear and panic and confusion. We are coming up on the sounds of a break. We'll be back, and we're going to move Donna's life a little more forward, hear about this Evoke system she's created, and send out a message to our listeners. What happens when you wake up and you have a life-changing trauma that came up through your memories? What are your first steps?
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. The number one reason girls drop out of school in sub-Saharan Africa is lack of access to feminine hygiene products. The Pads for Schoolgirls Project, an outreach of Humanity Healing International, is changing this paradigm by setting up sewing programs at schools, teaching girls a vocational skill, while producing the reusable pads that help keep them attending classes. The girls pay it forward by making and giving pad kits to other girls in need. To learn more, visit humanityhealing.org. Humanity Healing is where your heart is.
Vox Novus, the new voice. Vox Novus, the new dimension. Vox Novus, thought and movement leaders who will share from their experience and offer tools to help us navigate our rapidly changing world. My name is Victor Furman. Join me every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio for Vox Novus, the new voice.
The United States has the highest rate of incarceration in the world. At the Equal Justice Initiative, we believe mass incarceration has to end. There is this presumption of dangerousness and guilt that gets assigned to Black and brown people. We have to confront our history of racial injustice and commit to a new era of truth. There's something better waiting for us, something that feels more like freedom. Truth can inspire change. Please learn more at EJI.org.
Hello, and welcome back to the Dr. Kevin Show. We're here with Donna Trask-Laitinen, and she has created a coaching system called Evoke Change, EVOKE, and I'm going to let her give you the website because I don't have it in front of me and I don't have it memorized, but where you can contact her. We've been talking a little bit about her journey and her story and how, as often happens, those people that are coming here to heal and to help and to support and to do great work in the world oftentimes start with a very challenging, opportunity-ridden childhood. I think that's a nice way to say it. Don't you, Donna?
Yes. Yes.
But the last thing I do want to follow up is because I want to answer the question as somebody that has dealt with people and as somebody who woke up in the middle of the night and remember being molested as a child myself. So this is not an unfamiliar path to me.
Okay.
When you wake up and you take those first steps, the first thing to do is to find support to help you put the pieces in place, at least that allow you to move forward, to not deny it, not walk away from it, not just try to shove it back down, to not take erratic actions, to not make yourself sick, to not blow your life up. I've seen all of these things happen when people suddenly have memories of being molested as a child. Is you sit there, and when the terror passes, and it will, you avoid talking yourself out of it. You honor that inner child of yours that was wounded and hurt. You seek help, and the help may just be to start to research groups that you might attend, even anonymously, or get more information. Sometimes the safest thing we can do is make it an intellectual study process at the beginning and not get ourselves drowned in the emotion and the overwhelm. But whatever you do, don't start by denying it. And understand that it is not impossible, but it is very rare that the child does not have some feeling of shame and guilt, as if it must have been their fault, because that's what children do. The healing takes your whole rest of your lifetime, because you do heal it at different levels. And each time that teacher becomes more gentle and more loving and is more like an old friend. And sits back down and says, time to open up this book again. There's something else it has to teach you. It doesn't have to kidnap your life. It doesn't have to drop you to your knees. It doesn't have to make you hysterical. But it still has something to teach you. As I learned my lessons from my teachers from molestation, being sexually abused over several years by more than one abuser in my childhood, it gave me great depth and compassion and understanding about how to help other people through the journey, how to create the safe space, how to make sure they didn't take on the guilt, and to never let them believe that a single act was going to make it all go away. And suddenly they would be riding unicorns and licking rainbow lollipops. It is a lifetime journey. It has shaped you and will shape you till the day you die. And it will come back and visit, but it comes back and it visits as a mentor and as a counselor and as a friend that helps not only you, but helps all those people that get drawn to you because they see you can help them now. But never give them false hope. Never tell them you're going to write a letter and suddenly it will all be gone and you'll never think about it again. That's a lie. You will think about it again, and it will come back up. It just takes time. But that's a good thing. We give ourselves a huge lesson in the beginning of our life that overshadows our whole childhood, rich with the opportunities to come and do great things for people in the world. And we don't ever want to shortchange that and make it less than it is. So talk to me about, we're going to skip the rest of the questions. Talk to me about this Evoke coaching that you have put together.
Yes. The Evoke coaching is something that I started based on a lot of awareness that I had learned about myself and wanted to share it. And as a behavior change specialist as well, that's what I do is I help people identify their bad habits through a lot of open-ended questions and substituting those negative habits with more positive habits. And it's a collaborative relationship. And I help guide people into helping them ignite that inner spark again. We all have it. It's just, we need to, it's buried and often in a lot of us. And, our strength to bring those back out, to know that we still have them. And starting to set some new goals and really think about what your heart's desires. What would make you wake up and, get out of bed with your feet hitting the ground, eager to start the day. I mean, that's what I think we all want, is to get up with a purpose. And, sometimes a purpose, I used to, contemplate, what's my purpose? But I realize a purpose is something that you discover. It's not something you can just, say, this is my purpose. And for me, it's really evolved. And it all started with my behavior and changing the way I think, and that I have control over my thoughts. And I don't have to like we're just on autopilot and we go down the hole. So when I help people realize that they have control, that they don't have to go down that hole with that thought. And half the time we make stuff up, the illusions. It's not even something that's actually happened yet. And we're making ourselves sick over it and creating disease and anxiety and depression. And so when you have control over your thoughts, it makes you feel, you're able to choose more positive thoughts or stop that thought and save yourself a lot of worry. And it's beautiful when you figure that out. And that little voice in your head, I help people to understand what that little voice is and how it's an outside voice. And I teach people how to understand how the mind works, your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And anything that we put into the subconscious mind is accepted. So we do this process called autosuggestion, which helps you improve your self-image, your self-confidence, whatever it is that you want to work on, so that you're reprogramming your mind and allowing for more positive way of thinking, which creates a feeling, which creates the new behavior. So that's a lot of the kind of work that I do. There's a lot more to it, breaking down the paradigms, identifying them. And
so when you say breaking down the paradigms, so part of this process, what I'm hearing, so correct me if I'm wrong, so part of this process is actually helping people figure out or understand why they think what they think so that they can then choose to think differently?
Yeah.
You say breaking down the paradigms? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our beliefs are things that from other people, from teachers, from other generations, from, children in school, our parents, our grandparents. So we're fed that at a young age, and we're brought up in a certain way, and, we don't know our true self. It was just kind of how so when you understand that, you can kind of start to peel that away and say, oh, that's why I get so defensive about that, because I never was able to give an opinion of my, to my mother. I was never able to have my voice heard. It was just, I was meant to be silent. So now that transfers throughout your life and then develops all sorts of different behaviors. So as we identify those and have an understanding, we can choose to change those.
So now Evoke is all capitalized. And what's the website?
It's www.evokechange.life.
Okay. And Evoke is all capital. So does that tends to make me think that each letter has a different meaning. Is that an acronym, Evoke, or was it just that you like the word evoke?
Nope. Yeah.
I mean, is there?
Yeah, I like the word. My daughter Jasmine had picked out the name with me because we were looking at other ones, but they were already taken. So Evoke came up, and she said, "How about this one?" And I was like, "Oh, I love that." Yeah. So it's EVOKEChange.life. Yep.
Okay. I was just curious because I'm always interested how people get their name. Choose to name a coaching system, or because this is a coaching system, so to speak,
yes.
right? This is your coaching system, which is kind of putting together a lot of the journey you've gone through with the things that have helped you. If somebody were to say, what would this most be like? Because some of what you're saying makes me think more coaching. Some feels like there might be a little more counseling. Some of it feels like things I've heard hypnotists, people doing with hypnotic suggestions and changing. What would you say would be the one if somebody was trying to say, I'm trying to understand what you do? What would you say? Well, it isn't this, but this is probably what it's most like.
Well, I'm continuing to find techniques to heal myself, and I'm creating healing systems. And healing systems that, people can become aware of. Like a lot of people don't know where to start and where to, how to start this whole process. And that's exactly what I'm doing, is helping people learn different healing systems that, open you up and, make you more aware of your thought process, how you're feeling, why you do the things that you do, and move forward, be able to let go of the past, which is, so there's a lot of systems in place, and not everybody obviously starts at the same place. Usually with a series of questions, I can usually figure out, is it self-image? Is it forgiveness? Is it, there's a whole bunch of different options, and then we start there and start to, work on that. And
so yeah. I know that you have started working on a new book. Do you have a working title for it?
I'm working with a publisher now, and we're changing the title. But basically, in a nutshell, it's my focus is on children with autism, on the autism spectrum. I feel that there's a big misrepresentation there. I feel that these children are our teachers, that they are the true gift to teach us how to be more patient, how to be more tolerant, kinder, more helpful, more accepting of others. And the whole inspiration of the book, and it was just unbelievable how it all came about. I had the thought, and I never planned on writing a book, and it just is flowing, and it's a guide. It's a parent's guide using manifestation visualization for children on the autism spectrum, and it's including autosuggestion, gratitude, and meditation practices. And again, it's for the parents too, so they are learning these techniques of how to take the path of least resistance, how to reword things to get a better feeling result for the children to respond to, and less reactions, being able to respond. So, yeah, the intention for the book is to help retrain and recognize that they are their own superheroes and what they have to offer this world matters. And I had somebody that I was doing a little coaching with, and she has a son with autism, and it was the new moon, and they went out and they did a little practice, writing out things you want to release. And he was definitely enjoyed it, and they burned the piece of paper and everything. And then I found some meditation cards, and he was open to that. And so it got me thinking that, these untraditional, unconventional, thought-evoking type of lessons could be very impactful. And I've talked to a fair amount of parents with children with autism, and they are very excited about this kind of a guide, that it's really nothing that they have experienced out there, this kind of, teaching, and, it's substituting the habits, and so.
Well, and that's our closing music. Donna Trask-Laitinen, thank you for coming from Evoke Change, evokechange.life. Next week, we're going to have Matt Connaughton on. Well, we do the first Thursday of the month, and we look at what's going on with the politics of the world and what the spirituality of those are. Right here on the Dr. Kevin Show. Donna, thank you for coming, and we wish you the best.
Thank you.